Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad, and welcome to Saturday's edition of the DCEU Daily. When the Flash movie was first announced with Andy Muschietti at the helm, I was so excited. I showed my excitement here on every edition of the DCEU Daily every single day. They were talking about a multiverse strategy, rebooting the DCEU, saying that everything that we've ever seen in DC live action would be canon. Who wouldn't be excited about a multiverse strategy going forward like that? So I was very excited. I thought we could finally put what's been the DCEU behind us. I had no clue what was going to happen, because it turns out that the Flash movie was made on the bones of other creators and covering up so much toxicity towards the lead, Ezra Miller, who has been arrested twice, and the other day, a mother of a child made some very serious allegations against them. So I can no longer support this movie. And let's look at what happened the other day when these accusations were made. A day later, the producer and director stood around a piano with the guy scoring the movie. And then yesterday, Barbara Muschietti, the producer and the director's sister, was teasing a Flash trailer. Do you really think this is going to work? For months and months now, these people have been silent since before it was announced the movie was going to be delayed. All of a sudden, very serious accusations have been made against the lead, and now they're speaking out. Now they're talking about trailers and standing around pianos. What's next? Andy Muschietti and Ezra Miller doing a tap dance together? Whatever they do, they can't distract the audience from what's going on. So I can no longer support this movie. Now, there's another reason I can no longer support this movie. And I mean, listen, I've seen a test screening, so I've seen what they're going to give us. It doesn't even look like they're going to make any more changes. I was hoping, against so much hope, that they would go back and cut Ezra Miller out and give us a better Flash, and a Flash who doesn't get arrested and, doesn't do unspeakable and unthinkable things. But these people, after those serious allegations from somebody's parent, have decided to spin the narrative. This is what Toby Emmerich does, and this is why I've always been thoroughly concerned. Even though he's been removed from his position as chairman of WB Pictures, he's still there. He's still got a production deal. He can still stir the pot. It was Toby Emmerich who briefed Grace Randolph to go out and put out a false rumor that Henry Cavill was a diva. That's the kind of man you are dealing with. And what's sad about that to me is that some of you actually believe that Henry Cavill was a diva. That's what's just disappointing in all of this. There's people out there that still subscribe to Grace Randolph. Grace Randolph hasn't got an inside line at Warner Brothers Discovery. She doesn't know what's going on with DC anymore, and I'm glad about that. I always will be a DC fan. I will always be a fan of Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, the Snyder Cut, even not minding the first Suicide Squad, and even the Aquaman movie, which is a great movie, and Shazam's okay, but the rest of them are a piece of shit. And if you think The Flash and Aquaman and Black Adam are going to take you to a brand new DC universe that gives us $1 billion a movie, you are very much mistaken. I can assure you about that. But how can I, in all good conscience, put my DC fandom before the safety, for example, of an 18-year-old girl? Again, these are allegations, we must say allegedly. But when you see some of the stuff that Miller's been up to in recent months, it's not good, is it? And a proud studio, a studio that sees all these things happening in the public eye, because Ezra Miller's so gone, he's not even hiding. what he's doing anymore. He doesn't care. You know why? He's sticking the finger at me and at you because he's saying to you, I have Hollywood entertainment DNA and they will protect me. Not just because they want to protect me, because they want to protect this movie. They believe that this movie is $1 billion picture. And I believe, having seen it, that they are mistaken. They believe you're going to go and see this movie because of Michael Keaton. And some of you will. I'm sure most of you who follow my channel will. But luckily, unless they do extensive reshoots, I don't have to go to the cinema to see this movie because I've already seen it. I won't give this movie any money because I'm a DC fan, but I'm also an uncle. And I imagine thinking myself of maybe what if Ezra Miller had manipulated one of my nieces or nephews? How would that make me feel? Well, I wouldn't like to be in Ezra Miller's shoes if that ever happened, but you know what I mean. Some of you out there are putting your DC fandom and your geekdom and nerdship before a human life, right? Before an 18-year-old girl who is basically an adult, right? I get it, but he's known her, allegedly, since she was 12 years old. So these are very, very serious allegations, everyone. And I can't support a movie with a person who's starring in the lead role. This is a character that children, boys, girls, and different identity expressions have supported and looked up to for many, many years. You can't be looking up to this person. And that's a shame, because originally I liked him. He's a very, very good actor. His talent can't be doubted, but what he's being accused of is extremely serious, and I can't sit here and defend that and support that. And I'm absolutely disgusted that WB Pictures would try to distract the public with producers and directors standing around the piano and the producer teasing an upcoming trailer. I don't even know if I would do a trailer reaction for the Flash movie. That's something I'm going to have to think about. Maybe I won't even talk about it. Now, if you feel you can't subscribe to this channel anymore, that's okay. That says something, that says more about you than it does about me. We all know my channel isn't, gleaming with popularity or anything like that, and that's okay. I'm here because I like the sound of my own voice, and I like 5 or 6 people listening to the sound of my voice. But I can't support this as an uncle. How can I? As a human being, how can I support this movie? How can I support this lead? Look at the Flash movie news and other sites on Twitter, constantly supporting this actor and supporting this movie. What does that say about them and their morality? Now, I'm not a very moral person. If your wife or girlfriend was laying on my bed and offered herself to me, I would not say no. So I'm not saying that I've never done anything wrong. But this is something else. This is so bad and untoward. And nobody in DC fandom is reacting to this. Apart from me, it's like, we don't care. We just want to see Michael Keaton. Have a think about it for a minute. You've lost your humanity. We've all lost our humanity. The DCEU is a messy, corrupt fucking mess. Basically, the Flash movie is no different to Justice League. It's just cleaner. And no one's upper lip gets hacked. But that's what the movie is. Do you remember what they did to Zack Snyder? How they pushed him off Justice League, and when he got his Snyder Cut greenlit by AT&T and John Stankey, they leaked that Darkseid clip on HBO Max. They then lied. Once Ray Fisher and Zack Snyder were saying how they were treated, right? They lied that Jason Momoa was going to be in a frosty animated movie. And, credit to Jason Momoa, who's been a big Zack Snyder supporter all through this process. He said they were lying. So if they were lying about an animated movie just to twist the narrative, what else are they lying about? Are they lying about the trailer? Will we ever see Benjamin Warshaw's? Will we ever hear his soundtrack? Will this version of the movie ever be released? Who knows? And who's behind all of this, these distractive tactics? Well, I can tell you, it's not David Zaslav. it's Toby Emmerich. Because for now, he's still the chairman of Warner Brothers Pictures Group. But even when he's not, he will be there at Warner Brothers stirring the pot. Because this is how corrupt this man is. All they could do to get rid of him was offer him a production deal. Well, his very own production company, working within other projects of Warner Brothers Pictures. This is how bad this studio is. And you can see how bad they are within the history of the DC Extended Universe. I can't follow WB Pictures down this DCEU line. I can't. Even if I become an immoral bastard and allow these accusations to go over my head, which I can't. I can't. As I say, as an uncle, I can't. Even if I could allow it to happen, the fact that they're replacing Superman with Supergirl, my hero, and they're showing off about a new Justice League which doesn't have Superman in it, how can I support that? How can any Superman fans out there support that? But this is the weird things we're getting, because we're getting the propaganda by Toby Emmerich, but we know on the other hand, we are getting David Zaslav's people coming out saying, don't you worry, Superman fans. We're going to have Superman front and centre. We're going to do something about it. We're going to do something about this. So what is it? Are we getting a Flash movie that deletes Superman and doesn't have him as a member of a Justice League? Or is David Zaslav going to give us Superman front and centre? Which is it? These mixed messages are no good. If you take a step back and look at this franchise and look at what it is, it's unsupportable. Amber Heard is in over 20 minutes. Actually, in over 30 minutes of Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. I saw the movie as well. Again, lots of issues, a solid enough movie. It's not going to make as much as the other film. It's not going to be as loved as the previous movie. And I spoke about that yesterday on yesterday's DCEU Daily. Check out the video. So it's a mess. And if you think I'm not heartbroken, I'm doing a video on my channel saying I can't support this Flash movie. Because I'm a human being, because I'm an uncle. I'm not perfect. But I have to take a moral line eventually. And this is the moral line I'm going to take. I can't support the Flash movie. It's up to you what you do. If you want to be blind to what I've been warning you about for months and months, ever since they delayed this movie, it's up to you. There's nothing going to happen good here. It's a mess. I feel bad for David Zaslav. I said it on Twitter while quoting him the other day. I feel bad for him. I'm sure he thought it was a mess, but I don't think he realised the level of mess this franchise and this studio is in. And let's compare it to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The other day they announced the Thunderbolt movie. Jesus Christ. He set everything up in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and we didn't realise Feige is a genius. Of course I'm envious of that. Of course I am. Because we don't have a real plan at the DC Extended Universe. We've never made real money and we've never had real popularity. 1 or 2 films have done okay. I agree. I'm still excited about the Joker sequel because that has nothing to do with Emmerich or Hamada. That's Todd Phillips on his own, because we know Emmerich and Hamada didn't even want the first Joker movie to come out because they're incompetent fools. Right now, and I don't know about David Zaslav, let's see the decisions he makes. But right now we are surrounded by incompetence at Warner Brothers, and especially at the DC Cinematic Universe. And I've got more to say, but for now, I'm not supporting the Flash movie, and that finishes my stance on that. Walter Hamada no longer oversees DC films. This is from Geekosity, written by Edwin Francisco and Mickey Sutton, editor-in-chief and owner. So let's get into this. Walter Hamada is no longer overseeing DC films. On April the 15th, I scooped that Warner Brothers Discovery wanted to replace Walter Hamada. No shit, Sherlock. Furthermore, on June the 26th, 2021, I leaked that new CEO David Zaslav would fire the old regime. I mentioned Warner Brothers Pictures Group Chairman Toby Emmerich, Warner Brothers Chairman and CEO Ann Sarnoff, and DC Films President Walter Hamada would fill Zaslav's axe. Sure enough, the axe crashed down on Emmerich and Sarnoff. Per deadline, Zaslav has removed Walter Hamada's power. Granted, Zaslav hasn't fired Walter Hamada yet. Nevertheless, Zaslav pulled away his authority. To be specific, Deadline reports that Michael DeLuca and Pam Adby will oversee DC in the interim upon their arrival. A search is underway for a new head of DC. DeLuca and Adby are the new co-chairpersons at CEOs of Warner Brothers Pictures Group. They replaced Emmerich. Another scoop confirmed. Some, especially the anti-Snyderverse crowd, claimed that Zaslav would keep the status quo, that Zaslav was pleased with the work of Emmerich, Sarnoff and Hamada, that James Gunn's The Suicide Squad reboot that James Gunn's The Suicide Squad reboot would reboot the DCEU. The Batman would stop Zaslav from removing Emmerich. Bazinga? Warner Brothers Discovery is going through a major overhaul. DC Films and other related projects are on top of the list. Even before Discovery bought Warner Brothers, DC Films was already in their targets. It felt like everyone saw the potential, but Warner execs kept dropping the ball. Furthermore, Warner keeps missing opportunities and not taking advantage of a connected universe. Walter Hamada no longer oversees DC Films. The studio cancelled a ton of DCEU projects and then focused on solo features. They kept moving most of the projects to HBO Max instead of a feature release. This felt like DC Films doesn't feel confident to move forward with the Snyderverse. At one point, Walter Hamada and his fellow gatekeepers wanted The Flash to erase the Snyderverse. Ironically, Zaslav is erasing the people in charge. When Discovery got the chance to hold the DC franchise, it seems like they wanted action as soon as possible. The restructure of the company was inevitable, but we did notice that there was a glaring focus on DC Films. With the announcement of Emmerich's firing, it only shows that the gears of this transition are well underway. The trades tried to play down Emmerich's removal, good point, a point I've mentioned myself. Insiders revealed the hard and more believable truth. One source acknowledged Emmerich didn't step down, he was stepped down. And I couldn't agree more. Mergers aren't nice. There will be pink slips. There's a stopwatch next to Walter Hamada. It's going to tick-tock. Sil Abdul and I have been saying this on his YouTube channel for a year. Zaslav is still looking for his own Kevin Feige, president of Marvel Studios. Marvel Studios has this sense of a unified and coherent universe regardless of what Project Feige does for Marvel Studios. The vision is still intact and focuses on the MCU. Zaslav is looking for that person who has that similar intuition for DC Films. Spoiler alert, it's not Walter Hamada. No, it's not. As part of Warner Brothers' overhaul, Zaslav met with Emma Watts, former president of Paramount. Not only that, she was also a top film executive at 20th Century Studios. At the time, Zaslav considered Watts for DC Films. This was Walter Hamada's role in Warner. In other words, Watts almost took Walter Hamada's job. Unfortunately, it didn't push through. For now, Zaslav is still looking for his Feige. Zaslav thinks that DC Films is not reaching its full potential. Again, no shit Sherlock. Sound familiar? We broke that on May the 26th. Instead of Henry Cavill's Man of Steel 2, DC Films pursued the Wonder Twins. It's a good point, isn't it? Zaslav shut it down. Instead of restoring the Snyderverse, Warner Brothers gave J.J. Abrams a $250 million deal. To date, Abrams hasn't gone into production with anything. His DC projects are in limbo. And this is interesting because people say there's no money in the Snyderverse. Is there money in giving J.J. Abrams $250 million so he can sit on his arse smoking a cigar and not giving the company any bang for their buck? Think about that for a minute. In addition, DC Films had Joss Whedon slaughter Zack Snyder's Justice League. It flopped. DC Films didn't understand nor did they believe in the Snyderverse. Walter Hamada was a significant part of that. Although 2019's Joker was a $1 billion success, neither Walter Hamada nor Emmerich wanted it made. Zaslav sees how DC Films is lacking. Without Snyder's vision, they kept the DCEU characters separate. The success of Zack Snyder's Justice League proved Warner Brothers wrong. Zaslav has spoken to Zaslav has spoken to industry veterans like Bob Iger, former Disney executive, Alan Holm, former Disney chief creative officer, former president of Warner Brothers, and Brian Lord, head of creative artists agency. Horn is currently in talks to be a consultant for Warner Brothers. Fans are still looking forward to Zack Snyder's Justice League to come back. They are still rooting for Cavill's Superman, for Ben Affleck to return as the Dark Knight. They are still hoping for Ray Fisher to be back as Cyborg. Whoever is the new head of DC Films, he or she has to decide the fate of the DCEU Snyderverse in their hands. The good news is, it won't be Walter Hamada. Wow. That is a really good article. Well done to both of those lads for putting that together. That was facts. Now, sometimes I laugh at Mickey Sutton and I think, you know what, you're full of shit, mate. That's not full of shit. That's true. Walter Hamada has no power any longer at DC Films. Who's making these decisions? Who's making the decisions to kind of trying to distract from the fact that Ezra Miller is being accused of so many things, so they stand by a piano and tease a trailer? Well, that isn't David Zaslav. This is the problem. There's been a civil war. There was a civil war between Warner Brothers Pictures and Warner Media at that time of the Snyder Cut being promoted and marketed. And now there's another civil war between Warner Brothers Discovery and Warner Brothers Pictures. We're back there. So David Zaslav is trying as quickly to remove as many of those toxic people as possible. And he's succeeding, but they're still there, and Toby Emmerich is still stirring the pot. But nothing he does and his stupid little distractive tactics are not going to work. Think about this for a minute. As I've mentioned 1 billion times on Twitter and 20 billion times on here, they're happy to protect the Flash movie and Ezra Miller, a man arrested twice and accused of something absolutely horrible, you know, while they put out the rumour that Henry Cavill was a diva. What was Henry's crime? He came with a director, a respectable director, and pitched a Superman movie. That was it. And from that moment, he was blacklisted from Warner Brothers Pictures. Still is until we hear something different. That is now David Zaslav's remit to do something about that. The other day, I read a Variety article, which is basically a Toby Emmerich's publication, if you like, because they're always plugging him and pushing his propaganda. They were talking about, you know, at 39 years old, Henry Cavill is on the wrong side of 30 to keep on playing Superman. Of course, this is bullshit, but if you agree with that, he still looks great enough to do one more movie and do some cameos. And anyhow, if Ben Affleck can play Batman and a 70-year-old Michael Keaton can play Batman, Henry Cavill can play Superman. So at least David Zaslav is trying to cripple these people. But right now, we are in the middle of a mess. Batgirl still hasn't got a release date. Blue Beetle has, and he's only just started shooting. Do you see what's going on here, people? It's a calamity. It's a mess. But hopefully, it can be fixed. And finally today, Black Adam's Justice Society of America could be the key to DC Films' future. If you're looking for Toby Emmerich propaganda, this is it. Let's give it a read. And this is by Comic Book. And the journalist is Jenna Anderson. Across years of development and months of early marketing for DC's Black Adam movie, one phase has been repeated a lot, that the hierarchy of power in the DC universe is about to change. That's ironic, because it isn't The Rock who's going to change that hierarchy of power, it's whoever replaces Walter Hamada as president of DC Films. That unofficial tagline has already given fans an inkling of what to expect from the project. With regards to Black Adam's Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, formidable set of superpowers and unpredictable moral compass. But as those who have been keeping up with Black Adam know, the titular character won't be the only costume figure to factor into things. With the film co-starring several members of the Justice Society of America, while there's still a lot that's unknown about the JSA's live-action movie debut in Black Adam, the circumstances surrounding it and their stories and specific history within DC Comics could prove to change the hierarchy of DC's live-action future along the way. Is it possible that David Zaslav, if he sees this film make money, and that's a big if, he'll say, right, this is what we focus the new DC live action universe. And I'd be fine with that. If Black Adam is a better movie than I think it's going to be, then yay, I will be interested in this. Created by Gardner Fox, Everett E. Hibbard and Sheldon Mayer in the 1940s, the Justice Society was conceived as a way to unite the already popular standalone superhero characters of National and All-American, the two companies that would eventually become DC Comics. Unintentionally, the group made history as the first superhero team in mainstream comics, with the fans relishing in the novelty of seeing these previously separate heroes join forces against larger threats. While the group initially faded away amid the implementation of the Comics Code Authority, with their concept eventually being revived and renamed the Justice League of America. Years later, the group remained popular and their adventures were eventually reintroduced as the premier superhero team of an alternate universe Earth 2. Though the decades of retcons and reboots that followed the JSA endured as a group rooted in the classic, uncynical days of the superheroics and eventually developed a roster of older superheroes and newer legacy characters who took up existing mantles. With the launch of Black Adam's first trailer earlier this week, we've already begun to get acquainted with the film's JSA roster, which will consist of Carter Hall, Hawkman, Aldis Hodge, Kent Nelson, Dr. Fate, Pierce Brosnan, Maxine Hunkel, Cyclone Quintessa Swindell, and Albert Rothstein, Atom Smasher, Noah Centineo. While this group is only a small sample of the heroes who have joined the JSA in the comics, it's pretty unique. It's a pretty unique micronism of the team's history. Hawkman and Dr. Fate were founding members of the Fox's initial roster and seemingly will be the same in live action. While Cyclone and Atom Smasher are legacy characters succeeding the Golden Age superheroes, Red Tornado and the Atom respectively from the jump, that creates a dynamic of superheroes at different phases of their careers. Instead of largely flattening the tenures of a team as we've seen on screen with the Justice League and Marvel's Avengers, and with rumours suggesting that the original Atom will appear in Black Adam, which would be amazing. I hope that's true. It sounds like the film will dive into the larger legacy and history of the DC universe, something that has been unexplored in the current continuity, to the point where one could argue that outside of Gal Gadot's Diana Prince, Wonder Woman superheroes didn't exist until the events of Man of Steel in the 2010s. Yeah, this is interesting. How do you explain this when Man of Steel kind of acts like Superman is the first hero? Well, that's how the movie was promoted, but then we found out Batman superseded Superman. So it's odd. The franchise has always been, inconsistent. With DC reportedly aiming to create a more cohesive live-action continuity under the tenure of Warner Brothers Discovery, the multi-generational nature of the JSA might be an easy way to get there, without having to counteract what has been established in previous projects. Rumours have swirled that a JSA spin-off movie could be greenlit depending on Black Adam's success, and over the past few years, that potential project has only felt more and more beneficial in helping cement DC's ever-changing superhero status quo. A hypothetical JSA movie could include a combination of previous Golden Age heroes, including original incarnations of characters we know DC wants to prioritize, like The Flash and Green Lantern, and younger characters who are either tied to older mantles or forging their own path. The JSA could also include a number of characters already introduced in the film universe, like Wonder Woman and Dinah Lance, Black Canary, Journey Smollett, both of whom have decades worth of history with the team in the comics. This would give DC a superhero ensemble with wide-ranging appeal and wide variety of characters, all while the studio continues to hash out its plans for the on-screen future of the Justice League. It would also present a team, an ironically optimistic, emotional centre, something that would do wonders as DC continues to nail down its overall cinematic tone. And as audience habits change following the events of recent years, even beyond letting the JSA thrive in live action, there's value in the idea of letting its individual members thrive in their own movies of HBO Max spin-offs. On the surface, every single member of Black Adam's JSA could narratively justify their own spin-off, fleshing out their respective corners and power sets. A Hawkman project could easily be DC's answer to WandaVision, A genius-bending, century-spanning tale of his enduring romance with Hawkwoman. It's Hawk Girl, right? Or is it Hawkwoman? I don't know. Which could also fold in a younger characters like Hector Howe and Kendra Saunders. A Doctor Fate spin-off could dive into the dark corners of DC's magical universe, which also introducing the many other incarnations of Doctor Fate, and possibly the Lords of Order. Atom Smasher's story could concern his past with the aforementioned original Atom, and maybe even fold in the more popular shrinking successors to the Atom Mantle, like Ray Palmer and Ryan Choi. Oh, you mean the character that Zack Snyder introduced? And Cyclone's legacy within DC Comics is incredibly specific too, with ties not only to one of the very first female superheroes, her grandmother, Ma Hunky, Red Tornado, but the ever-evolving cyborg iterations of Red Tornado led by evil scientist Tio Morrow. While these corners might not be filled with the A-list names that fans still want to see in the DC universe, the success of projects like Peacemaker has proved that as long as you get audiences invested, even the most obscure characters can become household names. We're still several months out from the launch of Black Adam and from the Justice Society of America finally getting to debut in live-action blockbuster. If DC plays their cards right, that appearance of the JSA could kickstart a wealth of storytelling possibilities, both on an ensemble and individual level. All the while seeing the JSA on the big screen could scratch the itch that general audiences didn't even know they had, in the same way that their comic counterparts first did in the golden age of comics. Black Adam will be released exclusively in theatres on October the 21st. Wow! Wow! What a well thought out article. Unfortunately, it was written by Toby Emmerich and not this female journalist. Because guess what? This was Walter Hamada's, Toby Emmerich's and The Rock's plan at the beginning. And the first element of that was Wonder Twins. What's happened to Wonder Twins, everyone? Cancelled, smashed into this, gone. Nowhere to be seen. Because David Zaslav has got rid of it. That is proof that this format and this plan is out the window. So yes, this is a Toby Emmerich, Walter Hamada-verse propaganda piece. Sounds amazing though, doesn't it? If only other people were behind it, we may have seen this interesting plan take fruition. But unfortunately, when you've got creatively bankrupt people like Walter Hamada and Toby Emmerich, and did you notice when she was giving a long list of characters, she didn't mention Superman? That nails it for me that Toby Emmerich is behind this. Yes, this is what these people do. They use journalists to spread their propaganda. They're trying to get you excited. So you think, yeah, Black Adam all the way. Fuck Superman. We don't care about Superman. But I care about Superman. And a lot of you out there care about Superman. So this was the original plan. But the cancellation of Wonder Twins proves that this plan will never see the light of day. This has been the DCEU Daily with me, Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss this beautiful perfection. And I'll see you again on Sunday for Sunday's edition of the DCEU Daily. If you like what you saw, smash the like button. If you don't, please still smash the like button. And until we see each other again, goodbye, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen.